Yeah, I've got a beautiful morning here. Hope it's nice with you. Clouding over a little, but yeah, nice to see some blue sky. So as promised, I'm going to try and not do very much explaining and inputting this morning. I have to hold myself back a little bit, but I want to try doing it this way. And just a little bit of input, but more introducing stuff just through the lead meditations. But a couple of maybe more practical things to just tell you for now. So one is that on the Padlet, Maitri Davies put I think it's an audio of walking meditation that I recorded for the retreat last year for Taraloka, and I did it because it's tricky to do walking meditation together via Zoom. So that's there. If you really, it just shows the congruence, if you like, between sitting practice and movement practice, just in a way how you take the same sort of principles of awareness without a particular object into different postures. And from that, once you take it into walking, of course, it's really straightforward to take it into activities, practicing awareness through daily activities. So do feel free to I think you can download that, or there's a link to it, and use it whenever you like. And it is really helpful, I think, just to have some way of taking the practice off the cushion. And just on that note, in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha's talking about using all four postures. So sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. So you choose, really. So what the criteria I like to think of is what would support awareness in this moment. And different facets and different combinations of facets of awareness. So what would support awakeness in this moment? And also what would support relaxation? So you can use the awareness at your disposal to make those sorts of choices. What would best support awareness right now? I think the four postures and all the activities in between, it's designed for a continuity of awareness. And that's what, if you like, builds the power of the practice. It's not the power of one-pointedness, which is quite difficult to maintain off the cushion. It can give the mind, samadhi practice, jhana practice can give the mind a lot of feeling of power and strength on the cushion and integration. But this type of practice has it doesn't have the same feel. It feels, if you like, much more ordinary, except it's slightly extraordinary to have that sense of awareness and that sense of presence accompanying whatever is happening. But its strength is in its flexibility. Because you can take it through whatever is happening and whatever you're doing. So I just really encourage you to play with that and perhaps take on that any degree of continuity of awareness will really help practice and will bring a deepening of it. Okay, so I thought we'd start this morning with a resourcing practice. That's quite a short one. And it's called the hand fist practice. I don't know if you've come across this. And I picked it up through a trauma sensitive mindfulness course that I've been doing online with David Treleaven, and he picked it up from two people, Stacey Haynes and Spenta Kandawalla at Generative Somatics. So you don't necessarily need to know all that, but I just like to sort of it's not something I've come up with. So it has its history. And yeah, so what to say? So David Treleaven says the fist. So we physically make a fist. He says the fist here is really about your own safety as a human being and the strategies you have to stay safe. So I'll say more about that, but I just first wanted to say that my own relationship with safety is perhaps to feel a bit dismissive. That might sound strange, but it's like, oh, not really relevant, not really significant, and not very, in terms of my sort of the strong idealism I came into the spiritual life with. Safety seemed a bit too safe, and not sort of the young hero sort of stuff. So and I also had quite a lot of history of physical recklessness, throwing myself out of aeroplanes and lots of hitchhiking and that sort of all this sort of stuff. Hitchhiked across the Nullarbor Plain, 3,000 miles of Australian desert when I was 21 or something. I don't know. I'm just saying that we can come to different places with particular words, and you may have your own sort of relationship, positive or not, with ideas of safety. But I think maybe the downside of all that for me was or what was unacknowledged was a little bit of an antagonistic relationship with myself. Something that was just a bit off balance and lacking in a sort of deep, comfortable connection with myself. And I think that this is partly what this practice is getting at. It's a safety in terms of having a sense of sort of being in charge with our own connection with ourselves. So maybe I won't say any more about it. I'll just lead through it. So, and we'll go from this practice. It'll just take about 10 minutes. We'll go from this into another meditation. So if you'd like to, well, before you set yourself up, actually, let's salute the shrine, because I forgot all about that. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Namah, Om Ahom. Yeah, so the invitation with this practice is to make a fist with one hand. And this fist, if you like, represents all the sort of strategies you have, all the ways of keeping yourself safe, feeling safe and supported. And often there's a certain amount of clenchedness or tightness in that fist. And what I want you to do initially with the other hand is to sort of try and open that fist. It's just to try and sort of just see how that feels, that wanting to open it. Yeah, and then you can stop doing that. But see how that feels, see how it feels too, because that's often what we do. I think it's often what we do. We're trying to maybe push things a bit in practice, or trying to make something happen. So that's even with the best will in the world, that we're trying to open something that has its own reasons for being closed. So now with the other hand, I want you to imagine just sort of supporting the closed fist, just in a way saying it's okay for you to be like this. This is your reality. This is how it is. Even a sense of you're doing a good job, and I'm going to help with that. I'm going to help support you, accept you as you are right now. And perhaps just putting some real presence, a sense of care into that fist, into the open hand that's supporting. So you have the fist whose job is to stay closed, and you have the open hand, and the job of that hand is just to be with the closed fist. And even if you like, you can physically help that fist stay closed. That can be a way of supporting. And you can just see how it feels. And often there's some element in practice that feels a bit closed, a bit tight, a bit unwilling or unable to be fully open and present. And so rather than trying to change that or make it different, if you like, the open hand of awareness, kindly spacious awareness, will just support that experience, recognize it for what it is. And so at any point you feel that within practice, if you like, you can just adopt the physical gesture, the closed fist and the supporting hand, and just feel into that. And it can really bring a degree of ease or qualities of allowing or acceptance into the practice. And sometimes help with a letting go, or through letting be. There's a letting go. Yeah, so whenever you want to, just relax your hands. And as I say, just take it up at any point. We'll sit for about half an hour now, and we're going to be exploring awareness of our field of investigation, fields of body and mind. So we can start in a very natural way, just where you are, as you are, settling back into the present moment. And taking all the time in the world. We can really be with the process of settling. It's not something that happens all at once. Perhaps like pouring grains of sand from one hand to another. And our awareness can be just with each grain, not where it lands, but the process of it falling. And keeping in touch with the receptive nature of sati, of mindfulness. Settling back. Curious about the nature of body and mind. And as we settle into the body, the experience can be not of the body as one thing, but of many different moments of experience, different processes, different sensations, temperatures, movements. Some pleasant, some unpleasant. The different physical senses that we can know. And probably the ones that are particularly accessible are hearing and possibly seeing. You might notice sounds that you like, bring pleasure. Other sounds that you wish weren't there. You can notice how that degree of moving towards or pushing away from experience, how does that manifest in the body and the mind? And it can be helpful to have a broad anchor, perhaps one sphere of experience, perhaps the body or the breath, or perhaps sounds. And the anchor just helps you keep touching base. Touch base with yourself, with your own experience. Touch base with settling back, relaxing into clear awareness. and staying present to our physical experience. And you may also have a sense of how you're feeling at the moment. And just being with that, allowing it space. The quality of allowing receptivity. It's like that open hand around the fist. And the job of awareness with whatever is there in our experience. Awareness's job is not to judge or to change, but to be with what's happening. And to clearly know, to the extent possible, and with awareness we're less concerned with what is happening with the touching or hearing or seeing or thinking or even feeling. We're more concerned with knowing how these different processes feel in the mind and recognizing that they're working in the mind. So the mind has no color, no shape, no form, no location. The body includes the brain. We can locate the brain to some degree, but we can't locate the mind. But we can know the mind through some of its activities and functions. The mind is thinking.
thinking is happening within the mind. Imagining, or the creation of images is happening within the mind. And these are natural functions and capacities, along with things like perceiving, attending, deciding, and being aware, knowing what's happening. And awareness can know at times all these different capacities of the mind. Feeling too, the capacity of the mind. So we're looking to be with the mind in its natural state, like a naturalist working in the field. And we need a very relaxed, open quality of awareness to do this. Just as we can notice the processes of body and physical senses, we can notice the processes in the mind. But looking very gently, looking out of the corner of the mind's eye. Subtle processes need sensitive attention. It can be helpful to watch the mind from feeling quite settled and grounded in the body. Opening up from that settledness, just to see what's happening. We're not focusing so much on the different experiences, though they will be known. But also recognizing the mind quality of awareness. That's knowing what's happening. And notice any thoughts or ideas in the mind. That something special, something different, something else needs to be happening. And see if it's possible for this moment of presence, to be enough. Enough in this moment, and the next moment, and this one too. enough. These words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to the life we have refused again and again until now. Until now.
So we've got a bit of time. If anyone would like to share something of perhaps just a moment that caught your attention, or moment of interest, really just for you to describe your practice, that moment or two of your practice. If there are any questions about the practice, that you ask those too, but it's primarily just to articulate your experience in the moment.
I could say something.
Great.
Something for me, something I kind of knew anyway, but something about when the sun came out, when I just felt real warmth on me, the sunshine on me, that deep awareness that I could then somehow deeply relax. And then a memory really that often that is the only time I deeply relax, to sit in the sun, just be in the rays of the sun, the warmth of the sun. So it was a sort of physical and emotional feeling that I could let go. And that was coming and going. The sun is coming and going behind me. So it was but it was very strong at one stage, and that really hit me of that deep warmth and relaxation.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. It's reminding me of Bhadra Priya. My partner has just been on a retreat led by Dayajoti and Nageshwara, based on teachings of Rob Babir, and apparently they have this attitude of imagining that you're sunbathing. That's the sort of the image for that sense of warmth and letting things be. It's like just imagining that the sun is coming into you, through you. Thanks. Anyone else?
I can.
Great.
I had a moment where, although I wasn't really tired, but there's a moment where I could have fallen asleep, and there's an incredible interest for me in this moment of falling asleep, because it's like actually your mind is letting go, isn't it? It's you're just going somewhere where you haven't got control. So it's met by this really excited interest. It's a really kind of strange juxtaposition of two kind of states of this falling asleep, but it's in a wow. And I don't know, it's like sherbet or something. It's like this sort of almost excitement in it. And then it's all over because you're not falling asleep, you're back in the practice.
Yeah. Lovely, really lovely. Yeah. I mean, I quite often talk about bringing interest to that experience of falling asleep, but I haven't quite made that connection with the mind is letting go in that moment, and the potential to see, if you like, to see. That sounds like you just really caught it. Yeah, great.
Partly because I have fatigue, so I actually have got no investment. If I fall asleep in a meditation, I'm quite happy to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So it's like being liberated from that feeling of, in the old days of, oh God, you've got to stay awake, and then it's agony trying to stay awake. So I don't have any of that. I just go to sleep if I want to, or if I do, I go to sleep, and that's great. I go to sleep. So I think you need to have that not resisting the sleep.
Yeah, definitely. Not yes. That sort of fighting. Yeah. But like you saw, if there's some degree of interest or curiosity, then that can have a really transformative effect on that's the sleepy quality of mind. There's lots to be engaged with in an experience that often, like you say, we're either fighting with it or we sort of switch off at that point. Okay, it's no benefit to this. Yeah, thank you. Pranagita and then Moksha Darshini.
Yeah, so I just had a moment of being quite present, but then noticing certain questions arising in terms of, oh, what is this now? What am I supposed to be doing next? And then tuning into the felt sense of those questions and recognizing that kind of an anxiety there. And then remembering the fist. And so the fist, reminding myself, well, the anxiety is something I've been doing for a long time. It's obviously a protective mechanism. So just hold it. And actually that really, really sort of just really helped. It just kind of then just passed into just being present again. So something about recognizing that the anxiety just needs to be held in that moment.
Great.
And I opened it up.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Yeah. Just following through that process. Yeah. Thank you. Moksha Darshini.
Yeah, I also found that leading with the hands very helpful. And I think what I noticed in that last sit was I'm very familiar with tightness in the jaw area, but how I think I often go about it as though, oh, I'll pretend to be really curious so that you will go away.
Yes.
I really noticed that this time, and it was then noticing the theories I've got about it and the associations with why it's there, and how that's a kind of another way of making it go away. And then it was almost right near the end of the sit, it was like, oh, okay, all right, what is this actually like? And that had a different flavor. It wasn't a kind of, I'm going to pretend to sit beside you so that you are quiet. I'll actually sit beside you because maybe there's some interest now. And that felt like something new coming in. So
great. Joseph Goldstein has this little phrase I quite like. He calls it the in order to mind, and it's usually in order to, or in order that something goes away. Okay, I'll be with you. But there's this sort of subtext that it's really great that you saw it, because it's often operating just slightly out of awareness. There's a sort of quasi acceptance or quasi sort of okay that you're there, and sometimes that is the best that we could do. So that's what we become aware of. And that in itself is another. It's freeing just to see those views that are sort of holding something in place. Great. Good. Okay, well, unless there's anyone else, looks like, let's just see. Philosophy.
My mind wants to direct my body, but I've noticed that in meditation, my body wants to do its own thing, and it wants to decide what to do. With the clenching of the hand, you said clench one hand, so I clenched my right hand. But something just wasn't right. And as I was meditating, my left hand clenched. And then I had a completely different feeling of protection and holding, and as much as to say, this is the hand you are meant to cleanse. And with falling asleep, it used to bother me that I fell asleep and I had no control over it. And so I wanted to catch myself falling asleep so then I could decide, will I fall asleep or won't I? And I discovered, with sort of trying to catch myself, one day my hands fell asleep. And then the sleep moved up my arms, and I checked my feet, and they were falling asleep. And I realized it isn't my consciousness that falls asleep, my body falls asleep. And if I can just catch those early signs, my hands falling asleep or my feet falling asleep, then I can decide, will I sleep or won't I sleep? So it's, I thought it was my consciousness, but it isn't, it's my body.
Yeah. Sounds like a good area to just really stay alive to, stay awake to, and explore.
Yes.
Yes. Happens. Yeah. I suspect that the story has further to go in a way that, or the exploration.
Yes. Yes. Well, when the left hand decided that's the one that needs clenching, I realized that I had forgotten that it's my body that leads.
Yeah. And there's this very sort of dynamic relationship, I think, between body mind, or body heart mind. So often that knowing can come, that sort of knowing can come in unexpected ways. Yeah. Okay, lovely, thank you. So let's have a little bit of a break. Maybe 15. Okay, so let's start. Yeah, so I'll lead us into another meditation. It may quite quite sure how it's going to go. I've got a couple of little readings, and yeah, I'll lead into it. I want to explore how to work with right view in practice a little bit. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just a couple of little readings to start off with. This is Lama Shempen Hukum. So she's making a distinction, quite a crucial distinction, I think. And she says, when we become aware of experience, this is samatha practice. This is calming. When we become aware of the nature of that moment of experience, it becomes prajna or vipassana. So what we're looking to do is understand the nature of our experience. We start off understanding, we start off being aware of the experience, but the perspective on it will really help us, point us to the nature of that experience, having some perspective. So then Bhante says, in Living with Awareness, he's talking about mind, and he says, mind can contemplate mind. The ability to make consciousness reflexive, to become aware that we are aware, to know that we know, seems to be a specifically human characteristic. The human mind has the capacity to turn its attention back on itself and take a questioning attitude even to consciousness itself. In other words, although your state of consciousness is subjective, when you think about it, when you become aware of it, you make it into an object, a mental object, a Dhamma object. You can turn you, the subject, into you, the object. For example, you don't just experience sense desire, you know that you experience it. Your desire for sense experience or enjoyment is part of your subjectivity. But when you become aware of this desire, you make it into an object. Okay, I'm sorry. I just realized I've been on mute for a while. And Vilasini, could you put yourself on mute, please?
Oh. Oh, where am I? Ah, there I am.
Okay, so it's quite possible you didn't hear those readings that I read. You did, okay. So let's take it from there. So hopefully you've been settling. Letting awareness know different experiences, often led by attention, quality of attention, manasikara. So one of the ways it's helpful for the right view perspective to be known is through recognizing the degree to which experience is being seen as personal, or a little bit less personally, more impersonally, as an object or a happening, an arising in experience. So mindfulness or awareness is able to recognize what's happening and that might be as some sort of Dharma object, where we're able to recognize more impersonally. Perhaps recognizing some mental or physical process at work. So at any given time, we might be working in a samatha way, simply knowing the experience, a thought, feeling, a sensation, but still with some degree of subjectivity, me, I'm thinking. And at times when right view is perhaps stronger in the mind, we might recognize with that more vipassana perspective, knowing the nature of the experience. Knowing whatever the experience is as simply something arising, persisting for a while, perhaps a very short time or a bit longer, and then disappearing. And when we know something in this way, there's an absence of identification and an absence of clinging. Objects come and go. There's something of a flow of experience. So let the body and mind stay relaxed and settled back. We don't want to be tightening around experience or jumping on it. In order to establish whether some degree of right view is present or not. So you can just remind yourself every now and again to check how you're relating to the experience that you're having. More personally, or as something arising, an object arising in experience. And whichever it is, there'll be some degree of right view or Dhamma perspective there. Just letting awareness be alive and awake to whatever is happening. curious. Allowing. And letting the mind be simple, awareness be simple. You might be aware of quite a bit of complexity, but the awareness, noticing it, observing it, can have the quality of simplicity within it. Simply knowing, not judging or evaluating, simply recognizing, being aware. Within that basic receptivity, this quality of clearly knowing, can also know when it's helpful to act. This is part of the wisdom quality of Samprajanya, clearly knowing. And that action might be simply to remind yourself to be aware, or to check for right view in the mind. Or it might be to ask the question, what would be helpful now? what's needed to help awareness flourish. Not necessarily looking for answers, but to re-establish that compass direction. Our intention in the practice is to simply be aware, to know what's happening. To know the nature of the experience. And we're not trying to think about that nature, that impermanent, not self nature. But to allow awareness and right view, wisdom, to do their own work. We just need to step out of the way and support the growth of these qualities. If you like, they are the best ones for the job, seeing the nature of things. What's happening now? What's the mind knowing? Again, not looking for an answer particularly, but just bringing your attention into this moment.